uh, Krushi Gowda to be come on the dais. Along with their co-authors.
ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆ ತಗೊಂಡು ಫೋಟೋಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆ ತೆಗೀರಿ
The guest of honor for this session is Dr. Satish Gowda N. Sir. We welcome you, sir. Now I request our teacher coordinator, Ms. Tripti Arora, Assistant Professor, KE Law College, kindly to welcome and introduce the guest of honor for this session.
ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ.
Thank you so much, dear. It's a privilege for me on behalf of KLE Law College to introduce today's guest for the session, Dr. Satish Gowda N, Associate Professor, Department of Studies in Law University, Law College, Bangalore University, has put in 15 years of teaching experience in UG and PG levels. He has an LLM with first class in Constitutional Law and Business and Trade Law. Sir has also obtained his PhD in the area of Constitutional Law in the year 2012. He secured third rank with distinction in LLB and fifth rank in BLL. Sir has received Best State NSS Coordinator Award for the year 2021 in recognition of meritorious services rendered in the field of NSS by the Honorable Governor of Karnataka. Please clap for the same. I think that needs our appreciation, isn't it? Thank you. Sir has also been to various foreign international academic visits, has been to name a few United Nations organizations, Harvard Law School, Cambridge, International Court of Justice. He has many feathers in his cap, being invited as a judge for Committee Commerce Management Law Discipline by the Advisory Committee constituted by the Office of His Excellency Governor of Maharashtra. Sir has also been a part of the academic administration, has also contributed as a course writer for various subjects, and Sir has also undertaken a lot of research activities and projects. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of KLE Law College, Bangalore. Now I request my moderator for the session to kindly offer sampling to today's guest.
Thank you for the welcome, ma'am. Now we'll begin with the technical session. The instruction for the presentation is that there will be three paper presentations in this session. Each speaker will have 8 plus 2 minutes. The moderator of the session will remind you after 8 minutes by ringing the bell. I request the presenter to be abide by the time stipulated and conclude the same on time. I would like to request the first author, ICD, to be ready. The first paper presenter for the session is Ms. Aisiri Mudukeshwar Kubore, student at KL Law College, Bangalore, with the co-author Bhuvna Shrishti Nirmal to present their paper on the topic an interplay between religion, nationalism, and political identity, a South Asian perspective. Over to you, Aisiri.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Aisiri Madhukeshwar Kubor. I'm one of the co-authors for the research paper titled An Interplay Between Religion, Nationalism and Political Identity, a South Asian Perspective. The history and politics of South Asia have been significantly shaped by the interactions between the concepts of religion, nationalism and political identity. This helps in either building or destroying the existing bridges between different social communities. The interplay between these concepts is complex and dynamic in nature. So, this paper aims to examine their impact in shaping the history, culture, and politics of South Asian region, with emphasis on four particular countries which are mentioned in the following case studies. In India, BJP Bharatiya Janata Party has been in power since 2014 and is said to have been promoting Hindu nationalism. When it comes to Pakistan, the military has played a dominant role since its independence, and the policies are said to be promoting Sunni Islam. When it comes to Sri Lanka, the Sinhalese Buddhist majority have dominated the country's politics since independence, and its policies has been seen as promoting Sinhalese Buddhist nationalism. There is a never-ending debate and discussion with regards to the effect of these policies promoting secularism and interfaith harmony at the cost of marginalizing minority groups. For example, when it comes to partition between India and Pakistan in 1947, it was motivated by the religious differences. In order to get an in-depth understanding of this interplay between the concepts, four countries have been taken as case studies. The first one being Pakistan. Pakistan is the homeland for Muslims and it is based on the concept of Islam as the basis of Pakistani nationhood. The same has been stated in their constitution as well. Muslim thinkers like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Muhammad Iqbal believe that Muslims cannot achieve true freedom and equality under the Hindu rules and they needed to have their own separate state. So, using this concept, the two-nation theory was propounded by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who stated that Muslims and Hindus cannot coexist and need two distinct states. The same concept or theory was adopted by AIML, All India Muslim League, which promoted and enforced the partition of the country on the thesis that the religious community is sufficient to form a nation. When it comes to rise of religious extremism, it occurred due to various factors and few have been stated below. Rise due to Soviet invasion of Pakistan, the Iranian Revolution, and the increasing influence of Deobandi school of thought, which is nothing but conservative interpretation of Islam. So this thought influenced a number of extremist groups like Taliban. The 1990s saw the return of democracy. However, there was political instability which led to communal violence. This, for example, of communal violence, there is the Peshawar school attack where 141 people, including children, were killed. This led to public outcry against extremism and the commitment of the government to combat the same. This had a significant impact on the political and identity formation, where religious nationalism led to rise in the political parties like Jamaat-e-Islami and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. They aim for implementation of the Islamic law in Pakistan and they often use violence to achieve their goals. This also led to sectarian division, that is nothing but different religious sects which are at clash with one another. And we can see Sunni and Shia being at clash currently as well. When it comes to Taliban, they have been accused of killing hundreds of such minorities, banned girls from attending schools, and forced women to cover their faces. The second case study is with respect to Bangladesh. It is a nation that is born out of the quest for independence from Pakistan. It's one of the few Muslim majority secular states. It underwent two periods of decolonization, one in 1947 when it gained independence from the British, and the other in 1971 when it gained independence from Pakistan's internal colonialism. It has two divisive political identities, one that is Bengali, which is based on language, the other Bangladeshi nationalism that is based on religion. The Bengali nationalism came about to happen because Urdu was made the sole national language of Pakistan, and Bengalis demanded that Bengali too be included as one of the official languages alongside Urdu, and the same occurred. Bangladesh Liberation War started in March 1971, continued for a period of 9 months, and ended in December 1971 with the creation of Bangladesh as a newly independent nation. Post-independence period, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman began to promote Bengali nationalism and he urged people to become Bengalis. He also urged indigenous people of Chittagong hill tracts and asked them to adopt a Bengali identity. Later, he was assassinated in 1975 and Ziaur Rahman assumed power in 1976 and was declared the president. He promoted the ideas relating to Bangladeshi nationalism and the citizens were being called Bangladeshi instead of Bengali. He promoted the concept of oneness of Allah. Islamic principles were promoted instead of liberal and secularist ideologies. The impact this had on political and identity formation is as follows. Even though the concepts of secularism, socialism, democracy, nationalism were included in the constitution, the role of religion became palpable in politics. The Islamist political parties became kingmakers after restoration of democracy in the 1990s. Soon, during the process of Islamicization of politics, there was squabbles between Bangladeshi Awami League and center-right Bangladesh National Party. This acrimonious relationship between various political parties led to the feelings of religious extremism among Islamist groups. And the identity struggle turned from a political issue to a social crisis in 2013 when the Shahbag movement and the Hifazat movement shed light on the unresolved and politicized issue of national identity. The remaining two case studies will be continued by my co-author Srishti Bhupna.
The third case study is from the country Sri Lanka. Sinhalese Buddhist nationalism is a political ideology prevailing in Sri Lanka. The extremist effects of the same were seen in the 26-year-old long civil war between the government and the liberation tigers of Tamil Elam. One of the main reasons of the war was the enactment was the provisions in the Sri Lankan constitution enacted in the year 1972, which gave Buddhism the foremost place and imparted a duty on the state to protect and foster the same. Other provisions, such as Sinhala declared as the sole national language, was also one of the major reasons. The ignorance of grievances of Tamil population regarding the discrimination in education, language, and employment rights fueled the demands for an independent state. Thus, the civil war broke out. The war resulted with the defeat of LTDE. The impact of this civil war was seen in the political identity formation, where how the individuals and the communities they perceive their political affiliations. The emergence of ethno-nationalism ideologies with an emphasis on the dominant positions of the Sinhala majority. Secondly, the Secretariat for Muslim recorded more than 250 incidents of threat, attempted attacks, harassment incidents, and provocations directed at Muslims in 2013. Thirdly, the 2015 government witnessed the election of President Matripala Sirisena, who pledged to investigate the gruesome acts against the human right and promotion of harmonious relationship between the country's diverse population. The fourth case study is taken from India. The world's largest democracy and a land of countless faith, India stands as a unique amalgamation of religion, nationalism, and political identity. The 1947 partition of British India led to mass migration and communal violence, leaving scars that continue to resonate till date. Presently, the politicization of religion and the growing influence of the Hindutva or the Hindu nationalism is one of the major concerns. Keshav Baliram Hegdewar founded the Rashtriya Swayam Seva Sangh, that is RSS, that is a socio-cultural group with the agenda to promote Hindu values. However, the present party in the power, that is the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is also considered to be a political wing of the RSS, is accused of enacting certain policies which give privileged positions to the Hindu nationalists. However, now I would like to move to the analysis and findings. The religion and nationalism have a complicated and nuanced relationship that affects the political identity. To some of the case studies in India, the Hindu nationalist politicians call for integration of Hinduism and state. In Pakistan, Islam enjoys a privileged position in society and is granted the authority to control important legal and political decisions at the cost of other religions. In Sri Lanka, extremist Buddhist organization organize enormous campaign for the restriction of minority rights. For example, against the Muslim, the policies such as the ban of hijab, abolition of halal certificate, cattle slaughter, and restriction on building mosques are certain of the policies. However, to overcome the same, it is necessary to promote and embrace the idea of covenantal pluralism, which is the mutual pledge to not only respect but also defend the freedom of conscience of all the existing religions. It enables different faith to live in harmony and spirit of mutual cooperation and request. Also, the political leaders of the states shall foster common identity, ensure social stability, and protect the national security. At last, I would like to conclude by stating that the rise of religious nationalism in some countries have led to increased tensions and violations between different religious groups. However, there are also certain efforts to promote secularism and interfaith harmony. Countries in this area must strive for greater inclusivity, respect for diversity, and equal representation for all the residents. South Asian region has also seen instances of religious concord, interfaith dialogue, and shared cultural heritage, demonstrating the policy of unity and coexistence. Interfaith groups, grassroots initiatives, and movement for civil society have been instrumental in building tolerance and pluralistic society. Thank you. Thank you, authors, for the remarkable contribution on the topic. I request the second presenter, that Ms. Anusha Virupanavar, Assistant Professor, KE Law College, Bangalore, ma'am, to present a paper.
Very good afternoon. I just want to give a disclaimer. Since the topic is on animal sacrifice, I have kept it very minimal, right? If someone is very dedicated, they may just avoid to listen to this, but then I'm just bringing forth as a researcher the facts and the research. Thank you. The topic is animal sacrifice in the light of religion, politics, and governance. I will come to the governance part later. We have seen that let me get the good yield in the field, okay, let my family prosper, so ಕುರ್ಬಾನಿ ದೇ ದೇತೆ ನೈತೋ ಬಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, animal sacrifice. So we just show our act to the god, worship in the name of animal sacrifice. And here I just stumble upon a question: whether God seek for blood, flesh, whether God or any goddesses, or be it any religion, will it ask for the sacrifice? If at all the God is asking for a blood or God is asking for a flesh, then God may be a psychopath, right? And here we have seen in Jatra Mahotsav or the festivals, we have seen in Gadimai, Nepal, or why go to Nepal? Here in and around Bangalore only, so many Grama Devatas wherein animal sacrifice takes place. And how do we justify this animal sacrifice? It's been in practice since time immemorial. Just because it is there from time immemorial, can it be continued? Right? It has been said that if we don't sacrifice, then there may be epidemic or there may be trouble to us. Back then, we don't have any ways or science or technology to understand why there is thunder, why there is famine, why there is flood. Now we have science, we have technology, we can find the reasons for that. Why still to continue the animal sacrifice is a question here. And we see in the religious texts, it is being stated, and India be the land of the origin of Buddhism and Jainism. We speak of ahimsa as a parama dharma, as a non-violence is a utmost great duty. But then, and we see King Ashoka sending the messengers to spread across the world the Buddhism and the Jainism. And even Basveshwara or the Basvana say, Dayave Beku Yala Pranigalali, Sakala Pranigalali. Where we forget this, just misinterpretation of yagnas or say religious texts say so. A misinterpretation will not become a religious practice, essential religious practice. Right? Why don't we look at the positive part of what the religion says, or what actually the religion is for? It doesn't seek for blood, or it doesn't seek for non-violence. And do you think that this earth, the Bhumi, is only for we, the human beings? No, it is for every one of us. And animals, as a inferior beings, they can't speak, they can't go to the court, file a case. Maybe the NGOs are doing a very good job. The judges and the judiciary is giving the judgments in favor of animal protection. Animal welfare laws are there. Though there is animal welfare laws, but the violation of the animal rights are happening in the name of religion, in the name of animal sacrifice. And please note this: the Gita, Bhagavad Gita says, "I don't want the richest or whatever you are offering with a pure heart, with a pure soul. You just offer me a food or a water or a leaf or a flower. It's enough. I accept it with all wholeheartedness." The god or the goddess or any religion doesn't command or doesn't advocate for animal sacrifice or the violence of non-human beings. And here, no amount of religious sentiments would substantiate animal sacrifice. While researching also, I was very much moved, and how these animals are being treated before they are taken to sacrifice place is also very torturous. Please see this quote. I seek the attention of everyone here to see this quote. If any religion allows you to torture animals or sacrifice animals for the sake of procuring God's favor, then it is not a religion, it is an absurd practice of inhumanity, barbarism, okay, blind beliefs, superstition. Animal sacrifice is not a religious or is not a worshipping, or it is not about the religion or religious practice, but it is just a misinterpretation of the religious text, we can say. And one set of the people say that animal sacrifice, if the animal sacrifice is banned, it amount to it amount to violation of Article 25, or it amounts to violation of freedom of religion. And what do you think? The freedom of or right to religion or the freedom of religion is absolute? No. We have heard from Professor M.R.K. Prasad that under Article 25, Clause 1, there is restriction on the ground of morality, public order, and health. And animal sacrifice will fall under this restriction. It is not moral, it is not to the public order, and it is not healthy also. So the animal sacrifice, if at all it is banned, though unfortunately it is not banned completely, though there is a law, I am coming part of the government's part here. It is if there is a ban on animal slaughtering, be it sheep, cow, or goat, or cocks for that matter, the ban will not amount to violation of Article 25 or your freedom of religion. And you can just see now, I have covering the part of religion aspect. The religion aspect, how our sentiments or emotions, we call it as a religious practice, though it is not essential religious practice. And coming to the politics part, and how we have seen how politicizing the religion, religionizing the politics. We have heard from the inaugural session that vote ban politics. Politicians has to balance the interest of the different communities. Say one community may just light it and then start the inauguration. Another community or other place, they may put off the lamp and then start. Like how happy birthday is celebrated. So what is practice here may not be practiced in other community. Or so the judiciary, the politicians, and the law has to make sure that it balances the rights of the different communities and also the animal welfare part of it. So, speaking about the politics, they just ensure that their votes are safe. So, I just advocate for animal sacrifice. I get the votes, then let's do it. So that kind of mentality we can see in the politics, which is very unfortunate state of affairs. And coming to our specific area, that is the governance, I would just ask a gift of 1 minute, sir, the chairperson. Thank you. We have seen that Shirur case has laid down this essential religious practice. And then I just want to, and we have heard this Sabrimala judgment, whether not allowing a woman to the precincts or the premises of the temple is an essential religious practice, whether wearing the hijab is an essential religious practice. right? And it was held that it is not essential religious practice. And now the question, the research paper is based on this last two cases, wherein I'll just shortly tell you what these two cases is all about. This the Gauri case, which is in Uttarakhand, whether that animal sacrifice happening in the for the has a devotion to the goddess Kali is an essential religious practice. Whether animal sacrifice is an essential religious practice in a Hindu religion. So, what do you mean by essential religious practice? If you separate animal sacrifice and the religion, will the religion continue? Yes, indeed, it will continue. So, even though if it's separate and still it will continue, the followers will be there, and nothing stops the Hinduism or the Hindu religion, then can you come to a conclusion that animal sacrifice is an essential religious practice? No, it is not an essential religious practice. So you can't say that your right to religion is violated. And here in this Ramesh Sharma case and then this Gauri case, what the High Courts have stated is that they have not. It's a PIL. It's a PIL. Seeking for a complete ban of slaughter of animals in the place of Uttarakhand, wherein there are many temples in Uttarakhand wherein this annual sacrifice was going on on a huge scale and in an unbarbaric state. So the court has given two observation, and it held that you shall not carry this animal sacrifice in a public places, and then you shall not leave the carcass of the animal just to be rotten, left it there. So you shall carry that, and it has just given a guidelines that slaughtering shall not happen in the places of worship or the premises of the temple, and it shall happen in the confined boundaries. That's what the court has given the judge. Court has stated in these two cases, and then. So what are the laws that are there in India, especially in Karnataka? We have the Karnataka Prevention of Animal Sacrifice Act 1959, and we know that central legislation Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. These two laws govern animal sacrifice. Wherein the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, it says that you can use an animal for consumption as a food, but before using that animal for your food, make sure that you treat it unfairly. There shall be no unnecessary infliction of pain and suffering on the animal. That's what the second enactment is all about. Coming to, we have seen this is in Hyderabad, wherein during the Bakrid, this camel is being sacrificed. And one thing, Section 28 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act states that you can kill the animal as prescribed by the religion. What does it mean? Does it advocate for animal sacrifice? No, please don't understand this like that. Section 28 of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act states that you can kill the animal for consuming it as a food, okay, as prescribed by the religion. But it doesn't say or advocate for just killing the animal for the animal sacrifice, or just for the offering it to the god or the goddess. And it shall be read with this Article 51A(g) and Article 51A(h) and Article 48. 51A is all about fundamental duties, and we have this fundamental duty to, yes ma'am, to have a compassion towards living creatures. If we sacrifice an animal like this, we have a duty that is fundamental duty, and we need to have a scientific temper. If we just sacrifice the animal in the name of religion, then we'll be losing our scientific temper and we'll be violating our fundamental duty. And it is a duty of the state too to prohibit slaughter of cows under Article 48A, and under Article 48A. 48A, it is a duty to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard. So it is a duty of the state, duty of the citizens to protect the animals and to treat them fairly. So the conclusion part, which I will be ending in 60 seconds. So what is the suggestion here is, there is a need for delicate handling and open dialogues between whom? Religious communities, welfare advocates, and the broader public. And the second finding is that we need to find a common ground that respects religious freedom, ethical treatment of animals. So, and the next is there is a dire need. Please look to this. There is a dire need for the judiciary, legislature, and the law enforcement agencies to take a stock of the situation and put an end to animal sacrifice. And without public support, you and me, who is sitting here, if just in one of you that animal compassion or love or the fair treatment towards the animal, if it is just instilled up, but my purpose is served. And I just end by this quote. Here, this is a protest in regard to that Gadimai animal sacrifice. The photo is about it. And the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. So, you want to be called as a moral, you want to be called as a progressive state, then let's treat the animals in a fair manner. We have seen Bahubali. I hope many of you know the Bahubali of this chopsticks, right? And the person who is owning this Bahubali, the person he said.
Sorry, ma'am, I'm interrupting. Due to the paucity of time.
Thank you, ma'am.
So sorry for the interruption.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for a paper presentation, which was truly enlightening and thought-provoking. Now, I would like to call upon the third author of the session, Mr. Krishik Gowda, BC, student of KE Law College, Bangalore, to give his presentation on religion, politics, and governance.
Greetings to panel, esteemed dignitaries, and the audience. I'm Krushi Goda, currently pursuing first year BBLLB in KD Law College. Now I'm here to present on the theme of religion, politics, and governance in India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Tanzania. So this is the flowchart. Welcome, followed by abstract introduction, religion, politics, and governance in India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Tanzania before independence, and the secular state. And after the independence, then the current scenarios, as well as creation and distinction of church and state, and the role of responsibilities by the leaders of the modern governments. While coming to abstract, the research mainly analyzes the relationship between religion, politics, and governance in India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Tanzania. It mainly highlights the significance of religion actors, especially it is implementing pro-poor policies and practices. The gradual shift from the secular state has led to the contractual relationship between the politics and religion. It requires more news understanding the how religious interesting and behind the continued relationship. These studies that reveals a growing focus on the unique ideas and concern in the minority groups, characterized by their religion, ethnicity, and wealth, and it is important for the political rights and entitlement. While coming to the introduction, I feel religious is the belief in worship as it is a system of faith. Politics is the activity which associate with the governance. Governance is the action that taken to the state for the empowerment. This research paper mainly tells about the religious and development which investigates the connection between religious, political and governance in India, Pakistan, Nigeria and Tanzania. It mainly specifies and focuses on implication of religious on governance and pro-poor policies. The study of utilizes sociological principle of differentiation. It is illuminate that complex, it is very dynamic between political and religion. Before independence, it mainly approaches the it mainly focuses on constitutional relationship between states and religion. But sociologically, its principle of differentiation provides a more comprehensive understanding and dynamics. The interaction between state and religion is greatly influenced by economic and social conditions, and also shifts in religion actors' perspective can gradually alter their relationship with the state. These transformation can lead to religious movement to evolve from the resistance of evolution, as in the certain Islamic context. For instance, we can take an example of the third wave of democracy in Latin. The third wave that is called as the Catholic wave, like secondly, the council also teaches on human rights. The differentiation and integration is giving the assist to understand like how the state address public policies. It issues that relates a religious and discrimination. The secular state at independence. The secularism is basically the separation of state from religious institution. The secular state in developing religion, including India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Tanzania, have experienced and declined due to rising influence of religious actors and organizations. The interaction between state and the religion in this nation is not straightforward. With reference to that, they have the different mode of secularism that influences the specific and initially made state secularism an acceptable option. The interaction between the state and religion also the crisis of the governance experience in early 1980s. Seriously, that challenged a legitimacy of secular states. And also, the religion movement to challenge it's based on the religious identities. In conventional Hindu statecraft and the Nehru Constitution, the secular ideals mainly concentrate and it has been impacted on secularism. According to Adam Smith, 1977, chapter 4, he tells that three essential that requirement to be a secular state. Number one, religious equality. Number two, religious freedom. Number three, state impartiality. Religious, political, and governance in the current scenario. These are the initial, like post-independence, secularism position as notified in the four studies. It highlights the significant challenge to concept of secularism. The reemergence of religion in these countries caused the theoretical competition as significantly impact the political discourse. With the potential of fundamental reshape the civic notion of citizenship as seen in the context of Pakistan's Islamization of Sharia law enforcement. Future, the scenarios project continued with the religious influence in the governance. Creation and distinction of church and the state. These concepts mainly affect the religious establishment that is introduced in the constitution. It has a significantly influence with the Western political philosophy. It also incorporates the varied structures such as church, financial support for the church from the tax, or even ensuring a specific creed as the official religion, which also grants some of the official status. Through the contemporary philosophical discussion is outright religious establishment which finds the support in the ideologies emphasizing its role in creating social cohesion. It is also vital for the functioning policy and aiding individual to live fulfilling in the rooted in the tradition. The liberal tradition counters the establishment view and it also gives the freedom of coincidence opposing the financial support. With reference to these, the government funds and upholding individual rights to exercise in the religion without coercion. Role of religion in influencing modern governance. All the religious, like few of the religions in the global south, often fill the gap between the state failure with the representation of poor that varying across the context, such as Dalits in India, who mobilizes based on the caste and religion status. In Nigeria, the religious organization mainly focused on the development of poverty. Religious organization also approaches to gender to differ the ranging from the segregating women in the public life as observed in the Pakistan MMA to recognizing some aspect to equality with the restriction. It also offers and influences the religious background and traditionally community norms. Despite all taking this, it's very hectic to handle when coming to the female wings in the resource operators. Like most of the male dominance is the core trend and perspectives on women's empowerment. It also across the organization. It also often shaped by sociological context, such as larger emphasis on the gender segregation in the northern Nigeria. At last, I would like to conclude that these are very complex relationship between religion, politics, and governance in India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Tanzania, which highlights and shows more about the dynamics with the role and religious tradition that nurtures the modern governance. These approaches mainly considers the diverse religion context and intersection with the political and social structure, which is essential to confront the impact of return of religion in developing society. By recognizing the religion of these multi-dimension and dynamic for interacting with the resource that societal variable helps policymakers and researchers devise more effective strategies to address the challenges and the opportunities posed by the interaction of religion, politics, and governance. Thank you.
Thank you to all the presenters for their valuable insights on the theme religion, governance, and politics. Now, I would like to request and invite our guest of honor, Dr. N. Satish Gowda, sir, to address the gathering.
Thank you. Good evening to one and all. Firstly, at outset, I congratulate the esteemed KL institution for organizing a wonderful and meaningful conference on law, religion, and society, a constitutional deliberation. Firstly, I would like to thank the dynamic principal of this institution, Professor Dr. Mallikarjunaya sir, for extending invitation to chair this session. And also, I thank the organizer, especially my student Sharmila and Rashmi and my good friend Vishnu Prasad sir. All are here, and it's a learning process for me. In fact, I was waiting since morning. In fact, when she telephoned me, she told sir, your session will be between 12 to 1. Then later again it was changed 3 days before. Then again I was waiting. I missed to go to Mysore. In fact, I had decided soon after completion of this session, I was planning to go to Mysore. But it was an interesting session. I'm happy to hear presentation made by all the 3 speakers. Firstly, ICD and team has presented a paper on an interplay between religion, nationalism, and political identity, where they have highlighted and explained about impact on shaping culture, political governance, where they speak about Hindu nationalism and also made comparative study with special reference to Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and their governance, everything nuances relationship between nationalism and political identity. Then second, the very interesting topic taken by faculty of this institution, Anusha madam, she spoke about the animal sacrifice in the light of religion, governance, and practice, where she highlighted about the message from Ashoka, Buddhism, Jainism, and Basavana's principle, and also highlighted about Article 25, very importantly, because our fundamental rights are in qualified nature. They are not absolute rights. Comparatively, American Constitution and Indian Constitution, though we borrowed fundamental rights from American Constitution, where they have conferred absolute right, but here it is not an absolute right. They are qualified rights because all rights guaranteed under Part 3 are subjected to reasonable restriction. The reasonable restriction part is morality. She highlighted about the morality, public health, and public order. And again, the issue was the practice of religious slaughter can be undertaken under Article 25 of the Constitution, where she has highlighted about some cases, Muhammad Hanif Qureshi versus State of Bihar, and she was running with shortage of time. That's why she could not discuss all the cases. But the interesting part, as I observed, as long as the practice are done without harming public order, public morality, public decency, it depends. Interpretation, especially judiciary is there to interpret the nuances of the observance made in the particular religion. Because otherwise, it is through this forum we have to suggest for necessary amendment to the existing provision, because we have found only three important restrictions: public order, public morality, public decency, within which, if it comes, definitely it will be a glaring violation of freedom of religion. Otherwise, it is left to the court. We don't have competency to decide the validity. And last presentation was done by Mr. Kushik Kauda, where he spoke about religion, political and governance in India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Tanzania. My sincere appeal to all, before coming and presenting your views, of course, wherever we go in the seminar, whether it is international or national, they don't give you more than 5 to 10 minutes. So you should be ready with your topic, taking very minute one instead of going through. Of course, I appreciate you have taken first paper presenter and the last paper presenter. They have made comparative study in brief, but you could tell a lot taking particular country. Because of paucity of time, it's very difficult to analyze the political governance, religious, and other things, making comparative study. At last, in fact, the organizer, they are told, she came and told me, sir, you can take 5 to 7 minutes to make your remarks and all. So my final remarks, here I just gone through the brochure where they have discussed issue relating to religion, governance and politics, and religion and gender, and religion and terrorism and national security, and religion and secularism. Especially, in my opinion, we are living in a country with diversity. Diversity in terms of religion, food, culture, and language, many things are there. And a country having different multicultural religion, especially a country having mono-religion or single religion, there will be no issue when it comes to the food culture. And in the second paper, what she spoke about, completely about food issue. Of course, in India, we all, especially while celebrating Gram Devta festival and all, they bring so many things and they go for animal slaughtering. Not only that, even they just keep some drinks, and if they was going for cigarette and other things, ಅವರ ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಬೀಡಿ ಸಿಗರೇಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ಇಟ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ನೆಪ ಅದು. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಊಟ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ in the name of in National School of India University, in fact, they have prepared a superstition bill where during especially when Siddaramaiah, honorable CM, when he was a CM, then again they prepared. And I was telling, sitting in a AC room and preparing the rules and regulation doesn't serve purpose unless we get into the field and go to the empirical study. Even though you have so many legislation, even though you have police force and other mechanisms, you cannot go and prevent things which is going to happen in the village. Ultimately, non-doctrinal research, empirical study, taking the views from the different stakeholders can some extent do the favorable things. And principles laid down in their respective religion should ensure good governance and public order, instead destructing or devastating multi-religious culture in their respective country. And see, Constitution of India did not emerge from the vacuum. It's a continuous process of evolution, reformation, and recreating the existing system of governance by the eminent scholars. And through these type of seminars, we can also think in different perspective, what to be incorporated, what not to be incorporated. And when it comes to the national security and public order and religious governance concern, see, individual freedom of liberty can be curtailed at the cost of national security. It is one nation in the sense, that's why in series of cases, especially in Keshav Nandabhat versus State of Kerala and S.R. Bommai versus Queen of India, Supreme Court said secularism is the basic structure of our Indian Constitution. Because telling this, declaring secularism as a basic structure, it not only ensures the rights of general public, it ensures the security of the nation. So, keeping that in mind, it's a wonderful discourse. Especially, I really appreciate the initiation taken by the college under the able leadership of Professor Mallikarjuna sir. In fact, it's a learning process for even to the constitutional law teachers, and all have presented well. My sincere appeal: when you want to come and present paper in the national seminar and international seminar, be specific and come with identification of research problem and discuss us the nuances and validity and the contents of the items, then finally come to the conclusion. Answer to the research question raised by yourself. If that is being done, I think your presentation will be very systematic and it will be very informative. And of course, all three have done very well. On behalf of KLE institution and myself, I express, because ultimately participation matters. You all have participated, and one another unique thing is all are from KLE. So it's a learning aspects of different topics from KLE institution and faculty. And once again, I thank the organizer, principal sir, and all the students of this institution for giving me an opportunity to share my few words about this conference. Thank you, all and all.
Thank you so much, sir, for your fair observations and valuable remarks on the topic today. Now we have come to the conclusion of the first round of the technical session 1. It is my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks for this technical session 1. Our distinguished guests and esteemed participants, on behalf of the organizing committee, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for joining us at this remarkable session on the theme Religion, Governance and Politics. Your presence and active engagement have contributed immensely to its success. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. N. Satish Gowda sir, and all the authors of the session for your valuable contributions. Lastly, I request our teacher coordinator, Assistant Professor Tripti Arora ma'am, to give a memento as a token of respect and gratitude for Dr. N. Satish Gowda sir for his valuable insights in contribution for our technical session round 1 today. Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll begin the round 2 of technical session 1 in few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out valuable time, and all the presenters. Now, the presenters for technical session 1, the moderator will be calling out the name.
So, are there people, please be present? The names are Sahana. Is Sahana present? Please, I'll call. Please, Sahana, come on the stage.
I request the paper presenters for round 2, Ms. Samyukta R and co-author Sahana R. Then Muthulakshmi B with a co-author M. Supraja, and Mohammad Sohail Mandal with co-author Rajit Sheikh, Gururaj D. Devar Hubli with co-author Rakshita. Come on to the dais, please. I request the presenters to be seated, please. I heartily welcome the guest of honor for this round 2 of technical session 1, Dr. Rahul Mishra, sir, to please come on now. We welcome you, sir. I request our teacher coordinator for this round 2, Ms. Tilaka ma'am, Assistant Professor, KE Law College, to kindly welcome and introduce the guest of honor for this session.
Thank you. Good evening, one and all present here. I, Ms. Tilaka, Assistant Professor of Law, welcome you all to this session. I consider it's my pleasure to introduce today's chairperson, Dr. Rahul Mishra, sir. Sir is currently serving as Associate Professor of Law and Head Legal Service Clinic at Manipal Law School, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Bangalore. Sir obtained master's degree in English literature from Himachal Pradesh University in 2002, LLM from prestigious Nalsa University, Hyderabad in 2009, and PhD from Alliance University. Sir has been an avid reader, writer, speaker, and researcher. Sir has to his credits more than 38 publications, 40 paper presentations, and contributed many chapters in prolific edited books. He has been invited many times to share his views pertaining to national and international social legal issues on FDP programs. He has also delivered many guest lectures as an invitee. He has chaired many sessions during national as well as international conference. And also, Sir has been an institution builder in terms of admission program, thereby representing the institution concerned as a lead academic speaker in India, Middle East, and Nepal. His areas of interest to include international law, international space law, international humanitarian law, and language, international health laws, and ADR mechanisms. I, on behalf of Kelly Society's Law College, Bangalore, welcome you to the session, sir. Heartily welcome. I request Ms. Pragya Singh to kindly hand over the sapling. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the introduction. Now it's time that we begin with the paper presentations. There will be 4 paper presentations in this session. The moderator for the session will be reminding you after exact 8 minutes with the help of the bell. And hoping that we all are clear with the instructions for the presentation, I would like to call the first author of the session, Samyukta R, student at ISBR Law College, with the co-author Sahana R. The title of the paper is Religion, Politics and Governance. Over to you.
Secularism in India is a way of life. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank you all for your time and for giving us this opportunity. I'm Samyukta Sahana from ISBR Law College. I look forward to discuss the topic based on politics, religion, and governance today. I strongly believe that 80% of our country's governance is not based on religion. I'll tell you why. Why? Because only in a democratic country like India, we would see a Hindu lamp is lighted in a Christian candle by a Muslim man. Do you think politics is under religion? We know that religion and politics are two hardest things to talk of, but yet they mean so much to us. The most natural relationship between religion and politics is one in which the most important political questions have a religious answer, and that is the current scenario of our country. In certain landmark judgments where religion, the freedom of religion was enjoyed by women of certain community. Not only in India, but in countries which are facing, there are many countries which are facing these challenges. In many democracies, the countries which have more democracy in the world are facing this because the religion started ruling politics in every democratic country, and I guess they agree with it. Building better government will require a common and collective effort. Despite of unfavorable political environment, the public response to Iraq was overwhelming. Now my friend will take over.
Politics, a group of people come together and frame a governance for the future of a public. It means to make an agreement between a people, community, and a country, a group of people forming a law and politics. Religion starts with the term of belief, where people follow a particular activity and interest of a person or a group. India is a birthplace of many religions like Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism, and Buddhism. India has a diverse religion and a culture. Religious culture in India is a fundamental right which is guaranteed by Article 25 to 28 of the Constitution of India. The political leader involves a religion as a part of a propaganda. The ideology of a political leader may be different, but the motive of the political leaders is same. Society will be highly influenced by a religious of a political leaders, where politics become a deciding factor. In fact, even after the independence, religion sentiments was not separated by a political sentiments. The, it rooted inside the nerves of Indian politics and people. As per Article 18 and 19 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, United Nations supported the right to free expression, including religious belief, and Article 2 prohibit discrimination of race, caste, and sex should not be based on politics and religion. So my time to conclude.
The historical pattern of interaction between religion and politics in India are further discussed. The power subservice where politics uses a religion for its interests, and conflict where religion and politics compete for dominance. In ancient period, it is highlighted that with the example from Mughal and Sultanate eras, where the rulers used to mix the religion and politic principles to govern. In modern times, the influence of the religion in politics declined with the rise of science and democracy, but religion still remains an important aspect of a people's life. Advantages and disadvantages of religion interference in politics are explored, with a force on how religion communicates and sometimes conflict with political demands. The importance of religion freedom is highlighted. The paper also delivers that Indian judiciary has placed a significant role in upholding religious rights. I guess you agree with it. We have a case like when a non-religious when we tell religion is a basic problem for the governance of a country due to political pressure, but you think when a non-religious leader becomes a political leader of a country, do you think the smoothness of the governance will still flow? Actually not. A non-religious leader is believed to be indifferent to the sufferings of the majority in society. He would fulfill his or her own interest instead of serving with the interest of elected person. Let's take a landmark judgment of Bijo Emmanuel versus State of Kerala. This is a landmark judgment which deals with the issue of freedom and religion. In this case actually involves three students who refuses to sing the national anthem of India on religious grounds. Supreme Court held that the action of the school authority in expelling the students was arbitrary and with it was violation of fundamental rights as it was a fundamental right a citizen can follow any religion and it was violation which the school authority has behaved. Actually, we conducted while we were doing this paper, we conducted a polling and where 470 adults voted to it, and we found that Religion can affect politics in both good and bad ways. Religion affects election, conversation, policies, and communities. Social media actually promotes communal harmony, but still, they promote small social rights. Journal, it was published in an American journal published on political and religion by Cambridge University Press. Religion has had a significant influence on politics. While it has diminished, it still holds its importance in people. But now science and democracy is building up in form of government. India's religious groups and supporters of the country, different political parties disagree on the question of national identity. But still, I would like to conclude by telling that religious tolerance is a key element in the concept of Indian secularism because it has been a significant element of the country's historical tradition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, author. Now, I would like to call upon second author, Muthulakshmi B., student, Tamil Nadu, Dr. Ambedkar Law University, with the co-author N. Supraja. The title of the paper is Religion a Political Tool in India? Analysis of how religious perspective plays an impactful role in politics and government. Over to you. So, a warm good evening to everyone. Good evening, sir. So, myself, I am Supraja, and this is my author, B. Muthulakshmi, and our topic is religion a political tool in India or not? And after India has finally got independence from the British, India became a sovereign country. After that, India is divided into two nations called Pakistan, a Muslim country, and India, a secular state. The major thing about the partition is based on a religious aspect. This is the first step where religion is involved in the partition and in turn involved in the political ideas, and which lead to the colonization of India. And India is a country which has a vast population of multi-religious countries, and religion played an important role in the social, economic, and political aspects of India. And according to our survey and our understanding, we have listed out what religion, politics, and governance mean. And first, I would like to share about a view about politics. We shared a slide over there, and in everyday life, the term politics refers to what and why the country are governed, and to the way the government makes rules and laws to manage the human society properly. And politics can also seen in other groups like in companies, clubs, schools, and churches. It's not only followed in an organized and collective way. It also be seen in companies, clubs, schools, and churches. And next are understanding about a religion. We are very much attracted towards the quote saying that God is unity, but always works in variety. We are much more attracted towards this quote about a religion. A religion is nothing but a common set of organized practices and beliefs about worshipping superstitious or supernatural models. And next one is governance. Governance, according to our understanding and our conclusion, is governance is an act or process of governing and overseeing and controlling the direction of something. And government, according to our India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic with a parliamentary form of government, which is a federal in structure with a unitary features. And also, according to UN definition, governance refers to the activity of all political, not only political, and also administrative reasons, which is said in the slide. And next important topic about our paper is use of religion in politics. And secularism in India began to face turbulent weather in the revival and strengthening of religion learning political parties in the country. And we are also be attracted towards the saying of Mahatma Gandhi, which says religion is a personal matter, which should have no place in politics. Yes, we are truly agreeing this concept because religion is something which a person can personally adhere to and personally believes and do such practices. In politics, which is governed to the whole of a society as a common thing, where religion is a personal matter and politics is a thing which is concerned to the whole of a society. And political parties target the communities which are the majority of population so they can gain a beneficial advantage over the other parties. And the Indian government should not involve in any kind of religious practices unless it is a Hinduism, because Hinduism is an exception in our politics because it is of a majority group of population in our India. So always Hinduism is an exception in any political thing which involves religion. And religion and politics are two separate concepts, but they can work together in certain situations, but it should be dealt with a proper balance between them. And one of the main problems faced by India is the result of mixing politics and religion's victimization of minority community. This is a very big and major problem faced by our country. And democracy is a rule of majority, but we tend to forget about the need of minority peoples because we are so much bending toward the majority of people, and therefore the religion has played a prominent role in Indian politics. This is a stand about that. And I would like to start the startup topic is religion a political tool in India or not? The use of religion and caste is increasing day by day in our society. But anyone notice what are the reasons for it being used and how politicians manipulate the minds of people to get into them? We people don't think about what are the reasons and how should we prevent that and all. And we have made a survey and we have analyzed something about how can we made it and how it should be avoided. And one of the main reasons is illiteracy. Because of illiteracy, religion is come into politics in the India. And in India, most of the people are literate people, but they also manipulated by the ideas and promises made by the politicians about their based on any religious beliefs. And there is a difference between an illiterate people and a literate people and knowledgeable people. Knowledgeable people come into conclusion before they think it rationally. And according to a survey, there is some 75% of Indians are literate people, but only 25% of voters were illiterate. Is that 25% makes a vital role in the results of elections? Yes, we do say the minority position like 25% of illiterate people have a most impact on the society because the politicians can easily manipulate the minds of the illiterate based on the racial ethnicities and caste ideologies, and they don't think about what is beneficial for their nation, rather they think which is beneficial for their own selves and own religious parties. And I would also like to say that illiteracy does not only include about their degrees and their education about some concept. I also adhere and tell that political illiteracy is a major cause for religion play an important role in politics. So the second cause will be dealt by my author, Muthalakshmi.
The second cause, which can be considered as the use of a religion as a political tool, is rapidly increasing the unemployment opportunities in the state. If a election of a states are based on the region, then how could the government will provide any employment opportunities to the citizen? The elected government always try to overlook the rapid that the youth of the states are always engaged in any unproductive activities and never stand for their rights. The use of a region to gain the political parties advantage with the help of the political parties gaining a power, and in returns they will not grant the proper education to the citizen so that the citizen can't stand for their right also. the proper education is not provided, that the unemployment rate is surely going to increase. It refers to the situation where the death of one thing will give the rise to the death of another thing. Due to the misuse of this region, there are the many disadvantages that the state have to be suffered, such as the rapid damage based on their region. It is unworthy to mention the democratic and the secular country like us. The rampage are happening to fulfill their demands, right? So, if could be lot easier if a citizen had elected the government based on their manifesto declaration and after seeing the qualification of leaders and not based on their region. One could particularly see that targeted person to these type of an activities are persons belonging to the low income groups, illiterate and unemployment youth, because their mind can be easily shaped according to their needs of the political parties. That's a proverb in Hindi that says it would be better that everyone uses their brain before coming into or engaging into the activities that are raised by the government. Then the next slide, we collected this data from a particular website that we already mentioned in our full paper. As per this data, the most familiar party, we know that the majority of the voters from this particular parties are the Hindu region. So based on this survey, ask the respondent what would be a better suited to solve these problems in India, the democratic form of a government or the leader with a strong hand. The half of the people say the democratic form of a government, but the another half of says it would be better to have a leader with a great strong hand. Then the next slide we take the religion mixes with the nationality identity or not. According to this survey, the Hindu tends to see the regions and the national identity as closely invented. The majority also link the national identity with the ability to speak in Hindi. The most familiar parties is greater among the Hindu who closely associated this region identity and Hindi language with being the true Indian. And the next slide, this is the most familiar case we all know about this. I just mentioned this fact. The S.A. Bomme, who was the CM of Karnataka, the allegation made against him by the governor before the prime minister, stating that the government has intent in insecurity activities as a result, and the presidential rule was promulgated from such period. This was challenged before the Supreme High Court through the writ petition, and it was dismissed later. The petition was appealed before the Supreme Court. Then the Supreme Court also dismissed this petition and stating that the significance of secularism. The court explains secularism on the separation of a state from the region, stating that while Article 25 of a constitution says the guarantee to all its people for the freedom of a region, Article 14, 15, and 16 enjoining upon the states to treat all its people equally treated as freedom to the region, caste, and faith. And the next day we have some suggestions regarding our topic given below. The region believe have an influence in the Indian politics, social and practice, both the positive and the negative way. Our first suggestion is to about the eradication of illiteracy by providing the common standardized education to every citizens of an India. Everyone has to educate properly and with a common education system. This will help to citizens to choose their political parties wisely with a common guidelines and with the eradication darkness minds of an illiterate about the relationship between the regions and politics. And our second suggestion could be an employment to the citizens, providing them with a good employment opportunity to shine in their fields. They could cut down the unemployment citizen voting from the region parties, hoping they could solving their unemployment problem because of they being in the same region. So implementing to these measures will not only for greater impact in the lifestyle of a citizen of India, it also improves and promotes the standards of politics in India. And my teammate will conclude this.
And I would conclude by saying that religion has played a significant role in the Indian politics, both in a positive and a negative way. It is a secular country, and India has promulgated its constitution in 1950, accepting equal rights to all the citizens irrespective of the caste, creed, and race. This is a great step forward, but it is not easy to translate the constitutional ideas of a country such as complex as India into the reality practices. And it is a challenge for the politicians to strike a balance between the use of religion identities as a tool for mobilization and need to maintain a secular and inclusive society. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Now I request the third speaker, Mohammad Sohail Mandal, student, Darul Huda Islamic University, with the co-author Rajib Sheikh, to present their paper.
Hello, good evening everyone, and thank you for having me here today. The topic of this presentation is politicizing religion and religionizing politics, finding a way between religion, governance, and politics. First of all, I want to sorry to all of you because I'm not going to use this PPT. My co-author will use it. So this topic is very relevant. The interconnection and the integration of religion and politics is vital and is very important in this era. But after the 19th century, after the Renaissance of Europe, there's many scholars and many sociologists came to this consensus that religion is not an impactful activities, but this world will be dominated by the science and the rationality, because religion is not based on the rationality. So science will dominate it. But at this current period, in this current situation, in this current conditions, we can see that religion is very, very important, and it plays an integral part, an integral role in developing our society. Yes, governance, whether supervised by politics or religion, needs for the people and social's welfare. There are three factors you can see: that politics, religion, and governance. So let's have a brief definition of these three terms. First of all, the politics. Politics means it is a way to make decisions. It is an activities to make decisions. And the religions, we can see that different scholars have misinterpretations of religion by the different scholars. Often scholars are defining and explaining religion in Eastern perspective. But let's have a look on the Western perspective how what is the definition of religion. As you can see by the great French sociologist Emile Durkheim, he says that religion is a unified system, beliefs and practice relative to sacred things. And the third term, that is governance, it is means the executions of policies. So in this paper, this paper is a part of a co-authorship, and I will take only 5 minutes, and the rest of the presentations will be taken by co-author M. Sohail Mandal. So, due to the integration of religion and politics, there is a lots of opportunities and as well as challenges. So, I want to take some time to highlight some challenges that we can face due to the integration of religion in politics. What are the challenges due to these integrations world can face? So the first and the most important challenges that this world can face due to this integration and interwoven of religion and politics is the majoritarian crisis. So the inclusion of inappropriate religiosity, even in a democratic government, can break the feathers of democracy, leading to a majoritarian and authoritarian state. and it taken, and we can see that it happened in taken place in different countries. And a country with a different culture, with a different diversities, especially as we can see, as an example in India, which is diverse with its language, with its religions. So the imposition and implementation of religion and integration of religion politics will harm the sense of democracy in our nation. And it will also disrupt our social cohesion and social coexistence. Today, most of the political leaders are democratically elected with with an overwhelming majority always tend to unleash their cultural and ideological imprints upon all citizens. So if the implementations are taken and if the integration of religion in politics are done, then then the right of minority will be violated. So if the implementation is taken place, then the power of people, democracy means the power of people will turn to the power of majority. And it takes me to my second argument, and that is communal clashes. So conflict between two different communities be mostly fueled by politically and religiously motivated activities. As it is observed by the K.T. Smith, a great scholar, he highlights in his paper, assess the primary of religious conflicts in India. He says that most of the events and incidents and violence are often religiously and politically motivated. And let's come to my third argument, and it is the violation of minority rights. So another major problem that hammers the citizens when the politics and religion integration is not maintained in a balanced way is the breach of minority rights. And it is observed by a Human Rights Watch report published on October 21, 2022, published in its official website that the majoritarian attitude has left the religious group, especially the minority groups, tribal communities, Dalit communities, has left behind, and they are facing risk and violence due to the integration of religion in politics. And the last argument that I'm going to put in front of you, and it is the economic deprivation. So economic stability and its proper distributions are regarded as a key player to human development. The different human different sectors such as education, health, the current and the correct stability, the correct implementation of economic will impact the human life. So if the religions integrated in the religion, there will be instability in our economic policies. And it is also observed by the different scholars as S. Throat, K.S. Newman in his article 2011, and R. Sajjad and S. Hamid, the both of them in the paper in 2007, they all observed that the integration of religion in politics will lead on to the economic deprivation. So the integration of religions, there's so many opportunities as well as so many challenges we can see in this world, and it is happening across the world. So I'm complete here. The rest of the people will present my co-author. Thank you.
Good evening, and I want to continue the remaining parts as my co-author, Mr. Rajiv Sheikh, explained that due to imbalanced integration of religion and politics in the governments, there may be problems like majoritarian crisis, communal clash, violation of minority rights, and economic deprivation. But in this, only in 2 minutes, I will conclude that can the integration of religion, politics, and governance lead to a better outcomes for society, or does it create conflicts and marginalized communities? And we answered the last question here, the problems, and we will now see the better outcomes. So we are coming to the better outcomes of when religions and politics are integrated in a balanced and appropriate way. So the first thing is morality, and a governance without morality is hollowness. There will be separate kinds of problems like there will be problems like dishonesty and a governance without morality can lead a lack of transparency. So religion also provides moral frameworks which are used in political decision making. Religious people always support human rights and fight for justice according to their religions. So if the religions are integrated in politics, then a number of unethical activities can be uprooted. And a report says that the universal basis for achieving uniformity and human behavior regarding rightness and wrongness should be a impersonal ethical code which can only be achieved through religion. Another problem, anti-corruption, another better outcome that can be achieved through integration, balanced integration between religion and politics is anti-corruption mechanism. Because religion always teaches ethical and honesty, integrity, justice, and compassion. So, integrating religion with politics can provide moral frameworks to discourage corruption and encourage ethical behaviors among political leaders and citizens. The number of public officials, politicians, and executives are implicated in the cases of corruption, scams, and scandals. So, if they are really taught with real religious thoughts, they will never come to these corrupt activities. And third, better outcome that can be achieved is interfaith dialogue and cooperation. And because of such a diverse country like India, and if there is a better interfaith dialogue and cooperation between all religions, a better peaceful society can be created. And finally, literacy and tolerance. And education is the most important thing that can be used to create a interfaith platform. And by sharing the knowledge between different religions and interfaith dialogue can be created. And there are some other points regarding this, like religious freedom and human rights. So these social welfare and equality, sustainable development goals, environmental protection, this can be achieved if the religion and politics is balanced and maintained in an appropriate way. So, and this can be achieved through these ways. And by this, I conclude my paper. So, by integrating religion and politics, or politics in religion, of course, there are some problems if the integration is not maintained in a balanced and proper way. Otherwise, if it is integrated in a balanced and proper way without violating any other rights, then there are also benefits. So, we have to look at both phases and come out a good solution. Thank you. With this, I complete my presentation.
Thank you for your valuable perspective towards the topic. I request the fourth speaker, Gururaj T. Devar Hubli, with co-author Rakshita, Assistant Professor, Institute of Law, Nirma University, to present the paper.
Hello everyone. So today I'm going to present on the topic name, Tracing the Development of India on Regulatory Appointment, Independent, Transparent and Accountable. So let me brief with what I said. As said, regulatory governance requires multiple complex channels of accountability, especially when agencies are located at the conjunction of judicial, executive, and legislative powers. In this paper, I'm going to review appointments to independent regulators in India, focusing on 8 key bodies. A study of how they staff and manage their appointments in the Indian context demonstrates a significant reliance on judicial review as a mechanism of control, to the near exclusion of any other method of accountability. A limited effort to define certain regulators as judicial bodies based on the decision-making functions has enabled some outside the confines of judicial activities. As with other states that have active courts engaged in monitoring regulatory activity, the Indian case, as this paper argues, demonstrates that accountability is better achieved by supplementing judicial review with participatory governance and legislative frameworks. Coming back to the topic, the rise of independent agencies in the global south has been accompanied by confirmation that classic constitutional forms of accountability mechanisms are insufficient to counter the challenges posed by new regulatory states. The delegation of government functions to independent agencies necessarily implies attributing certain public authority in the hands of officials who do not owe accountability, at least not directly, to political majorities or minorities. While this isolation from politics gives agency the ability to act without undue pressure, it also prevents them from being subject to political forms of accountability, such as election periods. Thus, the necessary appearance of new liability regimes has spread since the creation of entities especially dedicated to it, such as ombudsman. New legal frameworks, as for example, law of transparency, regulation of conflicts of interest, and procedural rules for regulatory entities, new ways of using traditional mechanisms such as the expansion of judicial review into administrative work, establishing form of administrative responsibility has been further complicated by the fact that the distinction between the public and the private has been rapidly eroding as traditional forms of administration and bureaucracy increasingly collaborate with more industries, interest groups, and corporate entities. So, in this context, the way in which regulatory entities are staffed takes on greater importance. The rules governing conflicts of interest, political patronage, and the existence of adequate qualifications for the exercise of the position contribute to determine if the regulators can function independently, effectively, and fairly. Although much of the literature in this field has focused on states with established regulatory regimes such as the United States, Germany, and the UK, a small but growing portion of it has focused on studying the regulatory state in the global south. In seeking lessons from the experience of the global south, variations among legal system, economic context, political frameworks, social inequalities, and colonial legacies present a significant challenge in assessing the value of this comparative analysis. In particular, this is the case where studied on smaller, more specific areas within regions with considerable similarities, such as Latin America or South Asia, may be more useful basis for drawing comparative conclusions. It is reasonable to question, for example, what lesson we would draw given that the colonial history of Brazil is entirely different from the colonial history of Bangladesh, or between the Roman traditions of Argentina law as opposed to the common law tradition of South Africa. By way of answer, two reasons can be considered that reaffirm the value of these comparisons. The first attempt to establish common grounds across the global south, noting that while there is wide variation in systematic and institutional details, they respond to similar political and social challenges. As Morgan and Dubash have pointed out, although there is internal variety between Asia, South America, and Africa, the continents of the global south share a number of common contexts. This includes models transplanted from regulatory agencies, those that have commonly been taken from international financial institutions, the demand for redistribution policies, especially in states that are characterized by a situation of deep social and economic inequality. And finally, the difficulty involved implement regulatory framework with little state capacity. Comparative constitutionalism scholars make a similar claim in relation to activist courts in the global south, who frequently exercise their powers of judicial review to engage in governance, especially in response to state failures, as is commonly noted. Dan Rayner and Bornemann make a more normative argument suggesting that the turn to the south in comparative constitutionalism scholarship introduces not only a distinctive framework and shared context, but also an epistemic methodology and institutional sensitive specific that reinforces the intellectual basis of the comparative academy. Consequently, taking into account these caveats,
about the limits and challenges that this type of comparison is present, this article presents a report on the Indian experience with independent agencies, focusing more particular on the issue of appointment and appointment process in regulatory entities. I will argue that the judicialization of the regulatory state in India has relied primarily on the courts to establish an administrative accountability mechanism. This, in turn, led to the creation of regulatory entities nation, then expanding into the federal framework of India. In 1991, the deregulation of India's historical planned economy allowed for the creation of regulatory framework in place of the central administrative institution. A new antitrust regulator, a new securities regulator, and similar entities in the fields of telecommunication, airports, coal, food safety, and insurance, all of which broadly follow the model of independent agencies. This rapid expansion was also reflected in the global increase in independent agencies. Most of the regulatory bodies in India are created by law, dictated by Parliament, in the case of the Union of India, or by state legislature, which delegates authority to regulators. Define the scope of their powers, establish their institutional designs and the procedural rules that must be followed. In the absence of common institutional framework for the designation process, control process, or institutional design models, each regulator in India is entirely unique. And so to conclude, I would say that basically, even in NCLT or in National Company Law Tribunal, I would strongly suggest there is separation of power as looking into the reports, we have gone into the administrative tribunals, we've just looked into what's going on. From that, we can conclude saying that even you can see in RBI and CSI as well, there are particular statutes for particular cases or particular relevant stream. So there is separation of power, and I strongly suggest this because of the research which I have gone through with my author. And I would conclude in 3 points: variations in institutional independence, considerable influence of judiciary. Between this tussle, the authorities have been nominal guarantees of independence. Thank you.
Thank you to all the presenters for their valuable insights on the theme religion, governance, and politics. Now, I would like to request and invite our guest of honor, Dr. Rahul Mishra, sir, to address the gathering. Please, sir.
I guess the little bit of time is left, so I won't be making you sit here in this auditorium. But let me take a few minutes when it comes to the thematic significance of this wonderful seminar. And before that, let me congratulate from the innermost fiber of my heart, especially Principal Sir, Professor Mallikarjunaiah ji, Dr. Anita ji, Vice Principal, the rest of the faculty members, teaching staff, non-teaching staffs, and you all students also for having given me this opportunity to be a part of this a wonderful conference which is going on at present. And it has really been a privilege since morning I am here, having listened to wonderful thoughts which came out of a very nice seasoned professors, you can say judges since morning. And let us give them a big round of applause, first of all. At least these people have been so courageous to come to reporting hereby, making us understand the nuances pertaining to this wonderful theme, which definitely has a wonderful connection between law, religion, and politics. And so far as I think the story goes and the report goes also, like service to the mankind is service to God. That is what I think the scenario has been, put before us since time immemorial. So when it comes to service, it could be done in many ways, right? It could be done in a way which is selfless. It could be done in a way where you demand something to be done as a consideration. And as I think there was one presentation, let me just try to conclude these papers, then I will just put forth my thoughts also, maybe within a minute or so. When it comes to first paper, which was a few observations I have in general to all of you. And these, one of the important, you can say, opinion from my side is when it comes to make a presentation, there has to be a, you can say, a process to be followed in that sense. And that process is like, the title has to be quite clear, first of all, because anything under the sun cannot be taken as a title. I am not discouraging you. You have done a wonderful job, commendable job. But so far as a decent research paper writing is concerned, initially there has to be a proper prologue which is to be given. Then you have a sort of introduction. After that prologue, then you will have, you can say, research objective also. That is very important as to why are you going to take up this topic to be discussed. That thing should also be important. Then you have, you can say, research question, you can say research problem should also be there. Then you will develop hypothesis, then questions, then critical evaluation, then conclusion. And out here also literature survey will also be very important. I just went through your PPTs when it comes to OT data. So there has to be a date and year also that must be shown to the audience. And if there is a latest data, that would be shown, because that is basically a supplement to the kind of argument being placed by you people here before the audience, right? So whenever you are going through the data concerned, let there be a proper analysis, and source is also important. For example, I just saw a few slides, the source was not there, so that source would have been there. That is important, lest there should be a confusion. Understood? So this is one important point. And this is how the thematic scenario pertaining to the main title of the conference or seminar to be discussed. So definitely you have been a student of law. You will learn a lot many things in times to come. I have also been through all this process, right, for the past 35 years. So anyhow, and the second thing, when it comes to Samyukta's presentation, I think she has definitely touched upon the connecting between religion, you can say politics and governance, like in a decisive way. And there she has just let us know also about the common beliefs in terms of social fabric structure. And mind you, when it comes to religion, a lot of comments have come since morning. But for me, even, observing a decisive discipline every minute religiously will also be a wonderful thing to be done by. For example, you being a student, if you are doing your studies religiously, right, so that can also be understood, that what religion means. On the other side, I am reminded of two important shlokas which I came across in my student life. And there is one important shloka from Srimad Bhagavad Gita which I would like to quote here. And that basically tells us something about being beautiful. As Professor Vijay Kumar was also much concerned in the morning session, and he has beautifully let us understand, the nitty-gritty of duty. Because if I am taken care of, my duty, my right is automatically protected. And there Sri Krishna is also trying to tell that particular stuff to Arjuna, not to Arjuna, to all of us, where he is basically helping us understand the importance of karma. Like karmate vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur dhurmate sangho sangyate karmani. Right? So the crux and nucleus of this particular shloka is simple, that how can I be dutiful to the particular task which is assigned to me to be done meticulously. So for me, that would be very important. The task would be very important. And how I have made up my mind to finish that task on time. Number one. And when it comes to shloka number 2, that helps us understand the importance of women in our society. I have been, to various conferences, as session chair, as a special speaker, so a lot of papers are being presented before me. But I sometimes wonder that charity has to begin at home. I must have to change my perception towards women segment in my society. So that will be a wonderful change, and how that change can be brought in. Once I made a presentation in Vedakanti Law College, I think that is in Hyderabad, so I made this point out there. So that shloka simply says that is equally good to everybody, whosoever we are. Yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devata. So what does that mean? What does that perception mean? If we have that perception right in our mind, being mindful, automatically the other segment, that is women or his presence, his mental presence, his physical presence, his psychological presence is automatically taken. In spite of the fact that a lot of work has been done, CEDA is the important convention which we have at the international level, where a lot of human rights are basically provided for the protection of women also. And this is also the one of the aspects of looking into, connecting between governance, human rights, religion, and politics. And I think very good views were projected here by Muthu Lakshmi and Supraja also, where they are just trying to tell as to whether we could say that religion could be taken as a political tool in India. Yes, when it comes to religion, yes, it has been a very part and parcel of our DNA. But I would simply say, this is my humble submission before the August gathering here, that religion has not to be understood from the perspective of, being very, what do you call that, very rigid in approach. Unless and until I am able to provide you equal space to speak out your mind regarding what you think of, right? I am not religiously following my religion actually. I must also have to put you at the same pedestal I find myself and my relatives. So that should be the gesture that has to come out of ourselves. No law is going to teach us. So this is just my simple perception, keeping in view all the, you can say, legal scenarios which we have been through. A lot of judgments have also been delivered in that sense. But this is how we must, I think, work more towards the side where perception will matter us a lot. And accordingly, I would definitely tell you that a lot of crimes will come down when it comes to protect the chastity of women. A lot of crimes will come down. Understood? Once Dr. Abdul Kalam was also asked by one of the students that how can we thump down this corruption in Indian society? So that the answer was very simple. He simply says that that fellow was asked by Dr. Kalam, do you have father? Do you have mother? What do they do? So then he said, tell your father and mother to do their job in an honest manner. So automatically honesty is being taught to his son in a subtle way. If I want my son to be honest or my daughter to be honest, I will have to be honest first of all in my day-to-day dealings. Understood? And when it comes to third and fourth presentation, I think a very nice presentation it was about, you can say, controlling, what do you call that, regulatory mechanisms of how to appoint, how to go ahead with this regulatory appointments. And when it comes to Sohail's presentation, he talked about politicizing religion and religionizing politics. Yes, see, both could be termed as the subverse and obverse of the same coin. But at the end of the day, definitely, when it comes to the conclusions, I think they could have been a bit better. Because when you are gathering the data, that time you will be in better position. As in the previous session also, Professor was mentioning here, that the empirical research is also as important as critical researches. And when you go for the empirical data collection, definitely you have more solidified data in front of you. So you can definitely tabulate it. And sampling will be very important. Like when you are going to talk about the regulatory mechanism, so there are so many regulatory regimes in our nation. So which kind of regulatory regimes are you talking about? How they have come into being? Who is regulating them? What is the scenario? Under which law? Under which act? Under which regulations? Those regimes have come into. So in that sense, you are just narrowing down your research. So it means the outcome will be wonderful. It will be more sort of analytical. It will give you broader perspective to understand that narrowness in that research. Sometimes I have seen some students, they are coming with one research question only. And they are so, elaborating upon that particular point, that the outcome is automatically taken care. You can make a presentation before the ministry concerned also. So that should be the scenario. And thank you so much once again. That is just my perception. And all you people have done quite well. Thank you so much. And once again, my humble regard to all the organizers once again for having invited me to be a part of this wonderful conference. And thanks for the hospitality also. Right? Thank you all. May God bless us all. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for your fair observations and valuable remarks on the session. Now, I request Ms. Pragya Singh from BBLLB 5th year to present the vote of thanks.
So with that, we have come to the conclusion of the session 1. It's my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks for this technical session 1. Respected dignitaries on and off the dais, our distinguished guests, esteemed participants, on behalf of the organizing committee, I extend our warmest gratitude to all of you for being with us until the very end. This remarkable session is on the theme Religion, Governance and Politics. Your presence and active participation has contributed immensely to our success. I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. Rahul Mishra sir. So we are grateful for your presence here, and I'm sure that the profound insights that were made during the presentations have definitely enriched the understanding of the legal landscape. Also, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our beloved principal sir, Dr. J. Mallikarjunaiah, Vice Principal Dr. Anita M. Janna, IQAC Coordinator Dr. Manoj Kumar B. Hiramat sir, and our Teacher Coordinator for Technical Session 1, Assistant Professor, Miss Tripti Arora, Miss Tilaka ma'am, and Kavya Manjunath ma'am. Last but not the least, I extend my gratitude to the event coordinators, volunteers, and support staff who work tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure smooth execution and execution of this session. And most importantly, I would like to give a big thanks to our audience of the session. Your enthusiasm and commitment is the driving force behind the success of this program. We look forward to seeing you in all the upcoming sessions of the conference. Now, I would request our teacher coordinator, Assistant Professor Dr. Kavya Manjunath ma'am, to give the memento as a token of respect and gratitude to Dr. Rahul Mishra sir for his valuable insights and contribution to a technical session 1. Thank you one and all for being here. With that, I conclude. Very good evening to you all.